Hi, everyone. All right. Let's start with a little a backstory. 8 years or some, me and Chris Manson were working on a lot of different projects and had a running list of things that we want to talk about on EmberCon for EmberFest. So, but as you might know, he already spoke a few times at EmberCon successfully, and I haven't. And it took me 8 years and another push on the back from my dear colleague Michael Lang to be here, and here I am practicing public speaking. So there we go. My name is Alexey. I work at HashiCorp, specifically on HCP Packer, which is one of the products that we have on a cloud offering. And yeah, you can find me on internets. Those are my handles. Well, some people also know me as why my CI is broken and depend on Alexei. So I'll tell you in a bit why. So today we're going to talk about how to get people on board with big changes. And Road to Embroider is just a title. I'm not going to be talking specifically, specific benefits of Embroider and one or another. I'm just going to be talking over our journey as a product. HashiCorp Cloud Platform. It's a cloud offering. If you haven't tried it, give it a try. So I'm gonna run through things that we use in our project, and we're using Yarn workspaces. And the recent discovery in our Slack universe is this new emoji. So he brings you monorepo, it's your problem now. So there we go. It's always, monorepos are always fun. So some numbers, we have 9 local add-ons, meaning they're co-located in the same monorepo, so they are workspaces. We have 13 engines. Yeah, they're all packages as well. And we have 8 teams working on roughly, so those are the rough numbers coming up. We have 8 product teams working on this project, and we have around 126 ICs committed to this repository over the years. And we have 50 PRs coming in daily, give or take. And we have 22 API services that are talking to this platform. And yeah, I probably lost 50% of the audience. We don't use Ember data on this project. However, TFC does, which is Terraform Cloud. All right. Where we were last year with this project. So Yarn workspaces, same, and we were on Ember 3.328. So we didn't have any steps towards Embroider at that time. So, and our builds and rebuilds were very slow. The build time, initial build time, will take around 2 minutes, and rebuilds a minute and a half. So you could theoretically run engines in isolation, but it comes at a cost of a setup. So we tend to run application as a whole because all the different moving pieces. So how do we move forward, and how do we solve those issues? So we set out to upgrade to latest at the LTS at time. So you could imagine it's very tedious work with so many engines and add-ons to get them upgraded, and specifically going from 328 to 4.8. There were a lot of deprecations and things like that. It took a lot of manpower and different teams involved, but we successfully moved over, and that was the first step. So today we actually are on 4.12, I believe, and that was the smoothest upgrade of all. So it took one person me to upgrade the whole thing. Um, we moved to GitHub Actions. That's another big milestone that we did. We were using something else, and now our builds are um, faster on CI, which is nice to see as well. Um, we introduced our own design system, which you might have heard before. Helios. If you haven't, go try it out. It's open source. It's great. We love it. Um, and we're working towards Embroider and some ideas around using PNPM and Turbo Repo. I will explain why in a bit. And last but not least, introducing JLint template imports and some other things as well. So Helios. So how did Helios help us? So it consolidated a lot of components and building blocks into a unified design system that is heavily um, 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 focuses on accessibility. So that's a core principle of that design system, and it also provides us very basic blocks that we can um, promote to more complex patterns. Um, it is multi-project, and it's not specific to our product, so it works across the company, across the different projects as well. So, and as I mentioned, yes, very heavily accessibility focused. So, um, how do you actually get people, um, um, looking at your changes and getting on board with them? So, think big and start small. That's the idea behind it. So, um, we have a we have a big culture of writing at HashiCorp, and RFCs are a big thing of it. We w- we have internal tool called Earmis, and if it's also open source, it builds on top of the Google Docs. It helps with RFC management, so it's also open source. You can go check it out. I should probably have a link here in my presentation. I will share it later. Um, so yeah, RFCs are a big thing. Get it out, get some thoughts from people. If you have an idea, you want to move forward with that, propose first and see what people say. So yeah, um, make it known to people. So RFC is the first step, and then Slack, ask questions and see if there is any other initiatives going on, and try to be as inclusive as possible, and involve as many people as you can that relate to the opportunity that you're exploring. Also, yeah, be patient because it takes time. Those big changes takes time. So to for example, upgrade Ember, it took us around I believe 6 months for every engine, every add-on to get over the latest version. So it definitely takes time. Make the small contribution and move forward. So there is always compromise. So uh, sometimes your idea or direction that you're moving towards is not what majority of the stakeholders think it's the right way. So that's why we have RFCs. You can bounce ideas and find a middle ground. So you will fail, not once, um, more than once. Um, you'll probably fail right from the start. Be ready for it, and don't be afraid. Try, and try again. And again, stay optimistic. I know current state with the tooling specifically with Ember is not um, the, the most approachable, and it's at times it's harder to learn, but things are smoothing out with every pull request that I'm seeing at Embroider repo. So uh, yeah. So you're ready to start to make changes. First, explore if there is a blueprint. They will help you a lot. So we moved uh, to latest number with the help of blueprints. If there is code mods, use code mods. If there's no code mods, write one. So it's gonna help your team. And if you haven't written one, you will learn something. So just um, uh, and the idea that I'm operating on, usually, if you solve it for yourself, especially specifically in the monorepo, uh, solve it for others. So just propagate that solution to other engines and to other add-ons, and share it with everyone. You can create a small pull request that outlines what you've done, and you know, give a clear direction on how to adopt it. So um, make a small change. Yeah, as I mentioned, don't try to upgrade the world. Um, dissect it in smaller pieces and see how it works. So easily adoptable, as I mentioned. Make a small changes. Uh, 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 document well, and circulate it in uh, on your project. Um, I use specifically atomic commits that finally scopes every change. So uh, people that I work with definitely appreciate it. It's easier to parse through all the commits and what have been done, specifically on individual level for the teams. So um, great tool for visibility and um, just splitting up the work that you're specifically if your changes are cross cutting through different engines and through different add-ons. Notify stakeholders. It's pretty self-explanatory, and um, yeah, try to be vocal on Slack or all the communication channels. We do. Oh, sorry. We do send out like a blast emails, notifying of like a bigger changes. So it's also very important to be inclusive in that sense, because people have a lot of Slack channels to watch for. Maybe email is the preferred way for them to circulate the information. Um, Continue the process. Yeah. It is continuous process. You need to be aware of that, and continue to refine and watch for anything that is coming and upcoming from Ember and from other projects. So keep improving, and read Ember FCs, participate, watch Discord, and that will help you to be prepared uh, um, for what's coming and be informed. Uh, I watch a lot of repos on a GitHub. The one that are the most important ones, and specifically at this time, is anything that are Embroider team is shipping, and Jillind at this point. So not to mention the Ember CLI itself. Um, so and back to our journey, Embroider. So where we at with Embroider? We have started adopting incrementally things, but we have started with the naive approach, and we decided, okay, let's try to just do it on a host app. Um, and it didn't work. It blew up, of course, and there were so many errors that was hard to handle, and just to find an ends to what was going on. So um, we selected a different approach, which were gradually migrate some of the add-ons to V2, which um, eventually solved some of the issues, but it definitely reduced a lot of noise that we're getting. Um, and piece by piece, we arrived where um, Embroider is runnable, and most of our add-ons are now V2 internal ones, not the internal to the repo, not the global add-ons. So we identified all the issues, as I mentioned. We fixed them and repeat, repeat, repeat. It was a long process with projects like this. Um, are we there yet? We are not. So we do not have Embroider in production, but we're getting there. We have some numbers to share. So initial builds are now down to 1.5, which is a great win for such a big project. And the big change is actually rebuild times is 1.5 to 5 seconds. Now it's blazing. Now you don't really see those changes at all. Like, it's for the developer, it's inconceivable. When you come from 1 minute and 1.5. So I think it's a big win, and we have some unanswered questions for our embroider work, but I think we're optimistic that by the end of the year we'll have embroider in production. Um, that is for sure. So what's next? We are exploring some ideas, and as I mentioned in my first slides, um, PNPM and Turbo Repo. Why? So as you might know, with V2 add-ons, they are true packages, which means they need to be built before consumption. It actually has its own downsides when you use them in monorepo. When you use them in monorepo, you need to rebuild those add-ons somehow if you're actively working on those add-ons. So we have a problem right now where you have to run a separate instance of your terminal for the app and for the add-on that you're working on. So it actually keeps rebuilding those changes. Um, we guess. I'm not sure if it's gonna work out, but that combo might solve it, or uh, Vite builds might solve it as well. Um, at some point. But those are two things that still to be determined. So, but definitely exploring PNPM just for better dependency resolution and Turbo Repo for ergonomics. Um, GLint and template imports, and something else that I'm going to mention right now. So those two things are very excited, and as I mentioned, a few techniques that I'm doing. Um, that shipped the brand new engine that fully utilizes GLint template imports with TypeScript and route templates 2 weeks ago. So it's in production, it works, and it's the new authoring techniques for components. It's delightful. Yeah. All right. Um, am I at the last slide? Sorry. Um, yes. I'm at the last slide. Uh, yeah, that's where we are, and what we're looking to do next is in the bigger spectrum, and definitely moving those two last things across the finish line is going to be a big challenge, especially just gaining the coherence across the whole monorepo. And the biggest challenge is going to be definitely education, um, because it's a big shift. It's definitely a bigger shift that we had uh, mm, Octane era, and now we're moving to uh, the next era where we definitely changed the whole economics completely. and education is going to be a big part of it. So that's why I have decided to have like a big chunk of a work shipped in a repo where it's going to be serving as a learning guide for other teams to look at and see and trace my steps, what I have done to get this project off the ground. Um, yeah, in the closing thoughts, I would like to thank Ember community and um, all active developments on Ember CLI and Ember Embroider and all sub projects. Thank you all for your hard work, and as well as all my teammates. And yeah, thank you all.